Fatherland videos. Today's video is about why I read the Bible. And we're going to also have a Bible read. The reason I read the Bible is because I been going through some pretty extreme things since my late 20s and, well, my whole life really, but I originally started off with my siblings, with both parents in the home. And when things were challenging, I had both parents in the home to kind of embrace a lot of the blows and the negative impacts in my life. They divorced during my high school years, and I started to learn about failure right at that time, learning about not being promoted to the next grade level. That's something when they were married, when they were both in the house, I knew nothing about not going to the next grade level. My mom, being a woman who took us to church every Sunday, and sometimes, I should explain now, growing up Catholic, sometimes it was numerous times a week. Growing up Catholic, other religions, you kind of know how that goes. Especially when you're Catholic. Y'all like my decorations? Everybody got this creepy stuff out for Halloween, and it motivated me to go put something out that was more natural and factual. Look at that, y'all. Fat boy like it. You like it, fat boy? Fat boy likes it. Either he sits right in front of it. Yeah, you do. You do be sitting right in front of it. He goes right up to it and sniffs on it and stuff. Fat boy like it. No, get down. I know you like it. You like it? Yeah. Yes, I'll put that out there. The energy in the neighborhood got all weird and people. Y'all know how I get certain types of special attention, so that was to kind of counteract the negative energy. Back to the point of the video. Growing up Catholic, we spent a lot of days in the church. Every Sunday, most definitely. I remember my parents' divorce. I started to I started to pay closer attention to what was being taught in church. I wanted to understand um, how God was going to bless me in my life. You know, I felt so much doom when my parents separated. I felt so much negative energy that I wanted to know what was God and how was God going to bless me, because I felt like all hope in my life was over. Um, still at that age, you know, in high school, I think I was a freshman, early, midway through my freshman year, and started to get into these fights in school and stuff, and started skipping class. But I would still go to church and pay attention. I would go to church and pay more attention. You know, I kind of gave up on the academic world, and I was trying to look for the supernatural to guide me, because 1 + 1 = 2, and 3 + 3 was 6. And with my siblings and my 2 parents, it was 6 of us in our home, and that all broke apart. So I gave up on the academical world, and I wanted to know the supernatural world, where no matter if 2 + 3 is 5, how can we still have 6? Because it's 6 of them. Hey, you get ready to go to church? What church you go to? Huh? I don't think you can handle me on that long road drive. I'll probably come out to that. I'll come out to that. Bring me a flyer so I know I'm invited. I want something to hold in my hand, but like, she told me I could come now. Okay, you like my yard decoration? They got all this weird evil stuff out, and I said, man, let me put something out God created. I don't know about all that other stuff. I said, I'm put out there, God put out there. They try to put all that stuff hanging from the trees, and I don't know what they trying to say. But I said, let me put out here, God created something. Yeah, so yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we celebrate the everlasting life. All right, don't forget about me now. All right. Yeah, so that's my good neighbor. She said she gonna invite me to the church. I guess she know I need a prayer too. They be looking out for me. Um, but I was saying I had to start believing in something that was, and start practicing something that was more applicable to the days and times I was living in. And this just was a very hard time in my life. I think out of all the extreme things I've been through, those were up there with the hardest times, if not the worst. I would have to say that. It's crazy, but that would have to be the truth about how negative a divorce is, the breaking apart of the black families. Back in those days, it was always the loose women doing it. You know, the law enforcement and the judicial system played its part, but the communities were so rich with black people at a healthy population. Most folks that got locked up was doing some stuff that, you know, they all not been doing. And back in those days, for the most part, if somebody was breaking up, they were like, what little hoochie mama with her loose tail then came a home wrecker. And I always had an interesting way of celebrating and connecting with the Most High that I still, in those challenging days in my high school years, even today, how, where, and what are my strong connections with. I'm trying to seek guidance from the Most High. Our church set up on a hilltop, and you could see out through a large part of the city. It didn't look towards downtown on that hilltop. It looked back towards over here where we're at right now. And it was a blessing because God always gives you perspective on things that you need insight on, in a way to strategize how to overcome those obstacles. And God gave me a viewpoint back over this way versus downtown where we go and read the Bible at now. I look back over here, and our hope was gone. But our hope was gone. But I knew that I was going to make it out of the hood, you know. The types of circles I ran in those days, not necessarily too in the thick of it, but just growing up in that type of black community where the gangs and people start to get into selling drugs and stuff. I felt God touching me and blessing me with energy and a purpose, but I couldn't understand it. Not ever being out in the world and, you know, still in a home with my parents taking care of everything. I couldn't think of a way of how I was going to make it now that my parents were divorced, and I was like, life is a lie. You know, it's a big lie. But God was giving me this special blessing, this energy, this blessing to where I knew I had something to where I can make it out of there. So, started praying for myself at these times. Sitting up there looking back over the hood, I started praying for myself. Started praying for myself because I felt God reach out to me and connect with me. I knew God was real at that point. I heard God's voice communicating with me in that hard time in my life. And even though I was in a hard time in my life, I learned how it was at that time to communicate with God. And uh, so we still in the hood, y'all. Just in case y'all thought we wasn't. But I was saying, I learned how to communicate with God. It was such a blessing to finally know that God was real. Even though I was going through these hard times, I was like, man, I got this. I know God now. And even through that hard time, I was thinking, when God touches you and blesses you, it doesn't give you a perspective, it gives you our perspective. It's hard to explain, y'all. But one of the most important things I learned at that time, when I was like, God, how am I gonna make it? My parents divorced and it feel like my whole world is broken apart. I learned that, for one, we gonna figure this out. But I learned, like, God, it feels so good to be in your presence. I'm not just gonna come to you in hard times. I've learned through this to come to you even when things are good and say thank you. Because I don't want you to think that when things get rough, I just want to come and hope that you hear and bless me out of it. I learned that, God, I need to worship you even when things are great and good. Even though this is my first experience with communicating with you, I learned something that was such a blessing, to where it's like, man, I always want to be, in worship of God in hard times and good times. When things are really good, saying thank you. When times are really hard, asking God for a blessing. I learned it right there early on through my parents' divorce, when I first communicated with God. And things went on, and sure enough, school, I gave up on it, and I wasn't playing sports in school anymore when they divorced. That was at the end. But I started to become a lifeguard a couple of years later, being put out of school, suspended, sent into alternative learning centers. I remember going to this, they call it ALC, Alternative Learning Centers, the school when you always get in a fight, so you skipping class too much and you getting in trouble, you ain't doing it right. If you skip class, that ain't gonna too much bother you, but if you skip too many classes and you come up to the school, sometimes when you want to, they gonna send you to the ALC, right? So that's what I was doing. I was coming up to school when I wanted to, right? And getting into fights. So they sent me to the ALC, and at the end of the ALC school year, it was like, I think it ended a week before regular school ended. They had these little flyers laying out in the they had these flyers laying out inside the classroom, because in ALC you stay in one class for the most part. You don't walk around our high school like all different classes and stuff. So they had these flyers laying out, and it said, come volunteer to be a lifeguard for the city of Austin. And I was like, man, I always want to be a lifeguard. And I could swim pretty good. I went to University of Texas, used to have basketball, football, and swimming, and tennis camps. That was one of the blessings, being from Austin, Texas. People were sending their rich kids from all over. Majority, I think the camps were like 80% white, and then 20% like Chinese, and black and Latino. So you got all these white kids in there, they all in the camp, and then if you from Austin, if you black in there, you run the kids in Austin, they didn't let go to the camp for free, right? So I went to the swimming camp, and I could swim pretty good. And I seen that flyer in there to become a lifeguard. I was like, man, I want to do that. So you gotta understand, I had this energy, this blessing, right? God already gave me. I didn't know how I was gonna make it. I'm not playing sports in the school no more. I'm not passing school. I'm in the ALC. They didn't send me to the bad kid school, right? But I seen this flyer, it's like, you want to be a lifeguard. I was like, well, I dreamed of being a lifeguard. I remember swimming, and me and my parents and my brothers and sisters, we'd be at the swimming pool, and they order a pizza out there, and I used to see the lifeguards sit up on the stand. They had those Loke shades, the sunglasses. They had they had swag. As a little kid, you see the lifeguard, they was the shit, And the girls, you thought they were the most beautiful girls. And oh boy, they came out with Baywatch, right? Baywatch, the TV series. Baywatch, the TV series, came out a little while after that. And here I am, I want to do this, and I felt like I was gonna do it. I knew I was gonna do it, but I still was like, man, I'm sitting in ALC. How am I gonna go to this? My mind, my flesh was still telling me no, but my soul and my spirit and this blessing God gave me, it was like, it was shining on this, like, we gonna do this, right? So I go to this lifeguard training, and then at that, the trainings at the swimming pool we always went to for the most part growing up. The big old swimming pool all the black folks go to. And that's where the training's at, right? So I'm there now, my 15, 16 high school years, and it's like, man, I remember coming here as a kid, and like they start talking about swimming, different stuff, and it's a couple of brothers in there. They ended up giving up. It was like 3 of us, and then it was like 10 white folk, right? So they was talking about the different type of swim strokes you do, and you're gonna have to do all these type of ways of swimming. The breaststroke, the butterfly, the freestyle, the backstroke. I think I said the breaststroke already. The side, what they call it, treading water, and what's the other one they call it when you swim on the side? The side stroke. So the brother was like, man, what? I know how to do this, I know how to do that, but I ain't never heard of this. I was like, oh, that's like this. You know, these some good schoolboys. These some pretty decent, like, type of brothers. These ain't no brothers like it was in ALC with me. But I'm telling them these sophisticated styles of swimming in because I done learned this from the UT swim camp. All right, so we trying to do it. I think with the second day, we did a little swimming the first day, but the second day they had us in that water. And the brother was like, he just couldn't handle that water. One brother couldn't handle the water. The other brother, he tried to handle the water, but he came to the part where we had to start passing the different questions on the test. They had a handwritten type of test we had to take, and he gave up on that part right there. And even I was struggling with the handwritten part because it was just like, I'm not finna. I wouldn't go home and study, and that's kind of why he gave up too. Like, man, I ain't studying this shit. I asked him, was he studying? He like, no, I ain't studying that shit at home. But I came back to take the test the next day. He didn't come back. We was getting paid training anyway, so I guess he was just happy to get a little check. I came back to take the test the next day, and you know, the white folk up there had cut. He was like, look, man, just fill it in and shit. I ain't supposed to like kind of help and make sure you pass it, but he said, as long as you sit here and take the test, I'm gonna make sure you pass it, and I'm gonna mark off what's wrong. You go sit down and try to figure out the right answer to it. So he hooked me up, right? And there was quite a few of us that needed help, but I'm the only black person left in the class. Matter of fact, it was a brother and a sister in there, but they were real young. They were adopted by white parents, so they were very intelligent. So they were still in there, but they was under 15, so they weren't gonna be able to work but like 20 hours a week. Versus us over 16, we could work 40 hours and work overtime and shit. And then we got paid more money too. So they was doing perfectly fine with this shit. They were very intelligent, right? I forgot about them two in there. So here it is, come time to take the test. I had to go sit back down 2 or 3 times because I done got too many questions wrong, and he had me go figure it out, and I finally passed it. We get to the swimming part. We had to swim like 200 meters of freestyle, 200 meters of breaststroke, 200 meters of backstroke, 200 meters of side stroke, 200 meters of, what else, the other one? Did I say the butterfly? And I was like, man. And then you had to swim in you have to do all that within, what, an hour? That's a lot of water, y'all. Some of them strokes, it's hard to breathe. Like in the breaststroke, what is it? The butterfly? It's another one. I hope I'm not calling these strokes wrong. But anyway, it's definitely the butterfly. When you do the butterfly stroke, that motherfucker hard. It's hard to breathe, you know, especially if you swimming it. You doing a lot of swimming. But I just pushed through. Now, I was probably the fastest swimmer, but like as far as like in the freestyle, but like the breaststroke and all them other ones, nah, I wasn't the fastest. But with the freestyle, I was probably the fastest swimmer. definitely at the end of this summer season, I was a faster swimmer because we had in service every month. You had to come up there, and was it every 2 weeks? You had to come in there and like make sure you did your retraining and stuff like that, and call it in service. But I became this lifeguard, y'all. God had already showed me from the blessing that He was giving me that I was going to watch over people and protect people, make sure people were safe, and I was going to be able to live my dreams. My parents were at home going to Hobby Lobby and building these model jets and model army tanks and playing with G.I. Joes. I wanted to be a soldier. You know, I wanted to protect people and fight the wars against the bad guys and stuff like that, right? And through that hard time when my parents divorced, God had gave me this energy, this blessing to where I didn't know how, but I knew I was going to do. I was going to be able to live my dreams, and became a lifeguard. That was something that was going on my junior year. After my junior year, and then here comes my senior year, I've made a lot of money. A couple of ways. I had one foot after being a lifeguard, I had another foot out there in the streets hanging with the gang and doing shit. So I was making money all different kind of ways, right? I make a lot of money. And I go to my senior year, and this one the reality started to like settle in. Like, look, it's your senior year of high school, but they saying here with your credits, you only a freshman. You only got 5.5 credits. You ain't even quite a sophomore. You in your sophomore year according to these credits, but you haven't accomplished what a sophomore needs to do to go to be a junior. So it was like, ooh, right? All this stuff starts to come together. So my dad, he pulls me out of the school, and they had this YMCA opening up right here in the neighborhood, brand new YMCA. And he was like, you gonna go over there and be a lifeguard, cause you ain't doing no good at school. They open up that YMCA, they ain't even through building it yet. You go up there and apply for a position, they be through building it and they gonna open it in no time. So sure enough, I do it the way my dad tell me to do it. That's how I have to move and do stuff now. And them folks had to hire me because I'm applying for the job, while other folks see now hiring, but they see them still working on the facility. They ain't quite going in there yet. My dad had me going in there bothering them people. And sure enough, I got that job at YMCA. I dropped out the second semester of my high school senior year, and I started doing lifeguard work at the YMCA. And making good money. I think my money went up to, I was making like $18. That's that junior year at the city. I think I was making $17. I went from $17 to $19 at I went to $19 working from YMCA the very next swim season. Wasn't even the whole next season yet. It was a couple of months because it was halfway through my school year, right? So here it is. I'm working out here. I done dropped out of school. YMCA done opened in the middle of the winter in December. And I'm working out here at the swimming pool out here. It's cold outside. And these folks come out here swimming, and it's a heated pool, so steam come up from the pool. I gotta open up the pool because I'm not the supervisor. The pool open at 5 o'clock in the morning. I get there at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's dark outside. You can see the stars in the sky still. I can see the sun come up, and I see this steam coming up from the pool. And it's lit up this blue aqua, turquoise blue water, and it's so beautiful, right? But it's cold than a mug out there, right? And I'm like, I hope you're not drowning right now in this cold winter in the swimming pool. Now this is before Texas get hot during the winter. This one you still get ice and black ice and snow and shit. Like we used to get that every 2 or 3 years. This one we was still having cold ass winters. Like it be cold. Like come October, it's cool than a motherfucker outside during October. Like you gonna need a sweater on and some shorts. At the least, a hoodie and some shorts or some sweatpants and a t-shirt or something. You know what I'm saying? During all October, right? But come Halloween night, oh, it's time to start wrapping up Halloween night. It's time to start up. Halloween night. I don't know, for some reason, a cold front always come through Halloween night. And we at this YMCA, and it's beautiful out there. And it may become 2 people out there that early in the morning in that cold weather. I'm sitting out there, this boy supposed to be in high school, I done dropped out. And the matter of fact, the people come out there, they drive up to the YMCA in these big old Mercedes and BMWs, and you could tell these are people who, that type of lifestyle they live in, these are very like important people. Ain't nobody, no regular folk come out there swimming 5 o'clock in the morning in no cold winter. And these people come out there, about 2 or 3 of them. And I'm sitting up there watching them, right? Hoping they like, I hope you don't, I don't know what I'm gonna have to do. Cause if you think I'm jumping in there. But so I done it, right? I was a lifeguard. I was guarding life. I was making sure people were safe. Even the summer previous to that for the city of Austin, the kids that was doing good in school and they were playing sports and they was on the athletic teams and people looked up, they were school presidents and stuff. They were school presidents and stuff like that. They was in the pool and I was blowing a whistle telling them you gotta get out. They were doing too much. Cause it was like 1 or 2 days they all got together and came up to the pool. This is the main pool all the black folks came to. I blow the whistle, tell them, hey, y'all can't be doing that. One time they was kind of chilling, but I let them know, like I blew the whistle. I blew the whistle one time and be like, hey, motherfucker, look, I'm gonna let y'all slide, but I'm supposed to make y'all come sit down, you know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna let y'all do y'all thing though, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, one time I just was flexing a little muscle on, like, look, yeah, nigga. But they was already in amazement, like, when they saw me, they was like, what the fuck? They stared at me. And a couple went back as they was coming into the pool, they would go back. And everybody was flowing in, like, they didn't just go sit down by the pool. They would go back staring at me like, look, nigga, they got this nigga up here. He up here running the shit. And they all came over there like, and a couple asked me the stupid question, like, nigga, you the lifeguard? I was like, yeah, that fucked up nigga that don't never show up to class, and that nigga that I show smelling like that good weed, and I was with gang and the dope boys and them, right? You remember that? Yeah, I'm the one up here tell you when you can get in and get out and what the rules is up here. Yeah, I'm the one in charge of this up here. And protecting and guarding your life in case you get hurt and you can't swim, I gotta help you. If y'all get too far out of control, I might have to kick you out. It's me. And they were like, I'll be damned. I remember a couple of them just sat there up under my lifeguard stand just looking up at me the whole time. Like, what the fuck? This nigga up here doing this shit and he don't do shit in class and school, right? But outside of that environment, he's so productive and part of the solution, right? And it didn't take long for me to learn how things were going to be between me and my peers, even though at certain measurements they excelled further than me, and in other certain ways, perspectives of life, I excelled further past them. I seen at that time how I can find something that I can be good at that they weren't good at, right? Then I went into the Air Force and the Army, right? Then I came back to the hood. And they still having a hard time, like, what the fuck, nigga? You in the military. You in the service, nigga. You got a nice little ride and shit. You wasn't doing shit in class. And I was like, damn, I thought y'all learned that when we was at the damn swimming pool that day. I thought y'all had figured that out. Because I was looking at them like God already showed me. Now, when I first got that blessing from God, I didn't know what it meant, but I knew God was going to make me great at something, right? But at the swimming pool, I wasn't shocked. Because when I seen the flyer in the ALC, I was shocked then. And God was like, nah, you want to do it, we going to do it. You want a lifeguard, you want to guard life, we going to do it, okay. You guys want to do that, right? Okay, cool, I got you. And when I got to the swimming pool, it didn't shock me when they came. They were shocked to see me, right? When I got in the military, it didn't shock me what I was doing and how they viewed me, but they were still having a hard time. You know, they were still in shock, right? And it's different strokes for different folks. Folks have to do a certain thing to make a way. You do what you're good at doing. People tell you to do, that's what you're good at doing. But if you're good at doing the stuff the way that you do your best and you first started to be taught and you learn as a child, just find something you like doing and be good at it. And then folks try to change you and try to tell you to do what you told to do and do it. We telling you to do this now, and look here. You gonna come over here and do what we tell you to do at night over here. Then you gonna be good. You was always good at that. I wasn't never good at that. I wasn't good at doing what other people would. I was somebody that always just say, well, you gonna have to find something that you enjoy doing, and you just gonna have to. They used to pull me aside and tell me that, because I had challenges when it came to I wouldn't say learning. They wanted to say I had a learning problem, but I don't have no learning problem. I don't want to sit there and read that shit. It's not that I can't sit still and I got a problem. It's like I don't want to do that shit. I want to go outside and run around in nature. Now, you could say that's a learning problem. You could say that's a mental illness problem. You could say what the fuck you want to say, but I'm just going to tell you I don't want to do it. I don't think there's nothing wrong with me. It's just I don't want to be like that. If I had to do it, I could do it. Because it's certain types of environments I come into now and I do it, but I still suck at doing it because I don't want to do it. I still do it a certain way or only apply myself to a certain level because I still don't want to do it. It's not that I can't do it. It's like, nah, I can find something else I can do. that can cover for whatever y'all trying to make me do here. I can go find something else to do over here. It gets into the deep discussions about how people say that, you know, black children are said to have certain type of learning problems, but in all actuality, they are different types of people and they learn differently. You know, you don't have to sit them inside a classroom all day long and read about some shit about engineering and science, because they can handle that heat and that sunlight. And they can be outside actually doing that shit and learning that shit hands-on. Versus some people can't handle that heat and sunlight. They gotta go sit inside that classroom with that AC. So it's not about, well, they can't learn. It's like, well, why would you even want this black child to learn this shit if they can go out there and have hands-on experience? And you can still let the white folks run that shit, right? Because they gotta sit inside with the computers and technology. They can still be the bosses all they want to be. But these black kids can't handle that sunlight and be out there hands-on all day in that sunlight and that heat. They can learn that shit hands-on. Anyway, we talk about why we read the Bible. That's today's video. The reason why we read the Bible, because it's the book that has showed us, that they used to tell us as black folk it was important for us. One of the things we paid most of closer attention to many things was God will make a way out of no way. And that's something that we had to always be very we had to pay close attention to that, because we went through a lot of stuff in life as black folk, and racism is what it is, discrimination is what it is. Some black folks are privy to have strong financial stabilities in their life. Not a lot of us, but some black folks, and they don't have to. But for the most of us, why did we always go to piling these churches on Sundays? Because they would say things to us, and we can read it, stories about it in the Bible, about how things were so impossible and hard, but God would magically bless a way for you to make it. Folks that are naysayers say, well, it's something inside of me, and I would tell you, brother, sister, it's not. I'm a blessed person, but I can't bless myself. I have done some of these bad things that you accuse these other folks of being bad and doing, but I have known to try to get back on the track with God and try to seek forgiveness and try to fix the problems I've caused with people and receive a blessing from God. I had to be blessed from the outside. Now, you might got a fancy scientific way of explaining it, right? But I would tell you that that's just not me. I know what works for me. And that's why we read the Bible, because God makes a way for us out of ways that we can't see. And it's unfortunate that we live these lives as black people, and more that we can fight racism, we got to look at the things we do to ourselves. Things we do to ourselves as black people. And that, in a combination of racism, and all that stuff going on, that's something to where you know, I stay prayed up, like we say. I stay prayed up. So we got the Bible out here today. got the Bible out here today, and we gonna see what it say about. I've been recording on my other phone. I think my data. My data is overran on the phone I normally use, and I gotta record on this other phone. Y'all can barely see what it says on this phone unless I hold it far away. But then that's hard for me to see. That's hard for me to see when I'm reading. We'll find something to read today. This seems Daniel 2 verse 7. Once more they replied, "Let the king tell his servants the dream, and he will interpret it." Then the king answered, "I am certain that you are trying to gain time because you realize that this is what I have firmly decided. If you do not tell me the dream, there is one only penalty for you. You have conspired to tell me misleading and wicked things, hoping the situation will change. So then tell me the dream, and I will know that you can interpret it for me." So let's talk about how the king wanted them to tell me the dream I'm having first. So then I won't be thinking you trying to trick me. You tell me what the dream means. Don't just try to say you know what the dream means. Now, first tell me what the dream I'm having is. So we're gonna skip forward right here to Daniel 2, verse 24. Verse 24. Then Daniel went to Arioch, whom the king had appointed to execute the wise men of Babylon, and said to him, "Do not execute the wise men of Babylon. Take me to the king, and I will interpret his dream for him." Arioch took Daniel to the king at once and said, "I have found a man among the exiles from Judah who can tell you, the king, what his dreams means." The king asked Daniel also, "Belteshazzar, are you able to tell me what I saw in my dream and interpret it?" Daniel replied, "No wise man, enchanter, magician, or diviner can explain to the king the mystery he has asked about. But there is a God in heaven who reveals mysteries. He has shown King Nebuchadnezzar what will happen in the days to come. Your dream and the visions that passed through your mind as you were lying in bed are these." So we was talking about dreams and how God blesses you to live your dreams. It said the king, he sent for the holy people. Daniel and his tribe he was from was the holy people. Daniel had the gift, and his people had gifts of seeing dreams and visions and stuff, but also being able to tell you what them dreams mean. Sometimes you could have a dream and a vision, but if you don't have and serve the God that we have and serve, then what is that dream and that vision? Just another commercial or video or movie you watching, and you don't unable to comprehend that stuff. But it was a man of God that was able to tell the king what the dream meant. And these kings, sometimes they were lost people. They were people who had done bad things, and they were punished by God, and sometimes they were doing all right, and they was all right with God, right? But they was never the children of God, right? You know, sometimes they were, like King David and some of these other kings, but you start talking about stories like this in the Bible, you're talking about the special people of God being outside of this kingship or this specific royal family. And even though he was exiled in Judah, they were going through some hard times and stuff like that, God still, you were still the light shining for this kingdom of a people, because they were not the children of God, this specific kingdom. And knowing what your dreams mean is very important, because when God gives you a blessing and you gonna find your way to get to it, you gotta know what you working towards. You know, when I first got my blessing from God, when my parents went through that divorce, and I knew I had to rely solely on God, because all that I thought I could rely on, go to, was them being married. Once I seen that was over, I knew I had to go to God for what I was normally. I was sitting in T.D. Jakes' church one Sunday. My mom was a member of. He was talking about being weaned. When you get weaned, you wean the baby off the breast and put them on the bottle. You wean the baby off the bottle and start giving them baby food, and you gotta wean them. You know, I was being weaned from my mother and my father, and that to, okay, you gotta start getting your blessings from God. I remember I was being weaned from something. It was important hearing that from T.D. Jakes, because I just got put out the Air Force, and I was trying to figure out, like, how am I making in life? And then I'm up here with my mama. First time sitting in T.D. Jakes' church. And the first time sitting in the church this big, and just humongous like this. And he preaching to me. The whole church going crazy. They relate to it, but I'm like, man, I just got put out the Air Force, and I'm back on my mama couch, nigga. This is not good. I'm 20 years old. Like, nigga, I'm in the grit of when I'm going to be somebody or not. And T.D. Jakes was talking about being weaned. And sure enough, I was being weaned from that Air Force. Something that was very luxurious lifestyle, promising in its ways of pleasantry, of what I wanted to be growing up as a child, being in the military, to going into the army. And they say ain't no place for no black man, and doing God's work, fighting against racism, all being weaned. And It's important to know your dreams and the things that God has for you. And I'm talking to a certain type of group of people. I ain't just talking to folks that's just anybody. I'm talking to my church folks that stayed in the Bible, that are working towards certain levels. Now, if you got kids that have graduated from high school, you should be well past it. But a lot of us are still raising kids going to middle school and elementary school and stuff like that. You got to have mastered this. It talk about understanding them dreams. You got to be able to understand the path and the journey that God has you on. You can't be like I was, or how you was early on in your early teenage years, and you first start to recognize the voice of God. You can't be there. You can't be like these folk out here talking about, hey, well, that Bible stuff and all that stuff is just, it's mythology and metaphysical, because it's talking about a science when you got a force field over you, and then when you go and leave this world, your voice field around your body and this and that, and then this world is illusion, there's nothing that's real, and then you just gonna go somewhere, and then you gotta know that the Bible is not real, and that stuff you talking about God is really in you. You really the God that create, because you see it, and then the moon shined it, and then the sun shined it, and then when the moon and the sun shined it, then you was able to see what you was able to see it in your third eye, and your kundalini rise, and then your aura field was able to shine like a diamond, and then this place was put together by some people in the old time that had able to they did it. They created this world for you to stay down here as a prison. And there was some people a long time ago that did it, and you's here now. You can't be like them. You gotta understand the voice and the communication with God stuff a long time ago, to understand what I'm telling you now, to understand your dreams and the visions that you're having. This racism, discrimination, what they call it, gentrification, this stuff is at certain levels now, as well as black folks working against themselves, to where you gotta recognize the voice of God yesterday and understand when God give you visions and dreams, how to interpret that and know what you need to be doing right now. These niggas, it's a lot of people lost, and it is no hope for them. They will tell you that when you hear the voice of God talking to you and God giving you a vision and dream, they will tell you that it's a matrix and a red pill and a blue pill thing, and it's something that somebody that created this prison, the matrix, they will tell you that it ain't God's voice talking to you. They didn't even got that together. Well, you remember I was telling you about, y'all thought I was just talking, but I was telling you that I had up that brochure about being a lifeguard, and I was sitting inside the ALC, and God blessed me, and I didn't know how I could do it. Like, how am I gonna be a lifeguard and live my dream? I ain't even in a regular school. I think this more fit for the kids back in the regular school that play on the sports team and stuff, right? But none of them was up there being the lifeguards and protecting people. They was all out there in the swimming pool, and I blow the whistle, tell them to get up. And then that's when we can get in. We can get in the whole time, but that's when we can get in. Cause we been sitting up on that stand out there in the heat, and they said y'all can get in there, cool off for a little while they sit on the side. So we'll get in and check the water. You know, you gotta get the water in the water tester. We don't just dip it in there. We'll jump in the water and test it. And that's how we cool off while we testing the water. We be, standing right there on the side inside the swimming pool water. But see, that goes against everything that they saying that this system is built for. Who then done this and done that? Well, they control what they control. When they can control it, they do their best to do that. But I have evidence that shows that God don't let nothing have control over his own flock and sheep of people. God is a shepherd to where it don't matter what direction you try to have his people going in. God has the ultimate power to where he gonna direct it and push it and have it going in certain ways and patterns to overcome the worldly ways. I thought I was just talking when I was talking about all that lifeguard stuff. And them folk came in there, and some of them folk was some good reading people, and some of them folk was some niggas like me, and some of them folk in the ALC like I was. I was the only one to pick it up to think. Now, how many people want to be lifeguards in the ALC? It had about 30 flies in there. Everybody wanted to do it. Everybody used to like being lifeguard when they came up. But I was the only one that had that blessing. I told you my parents had been through something, and God had gave me this blessing. Some of these people, man, they can't even, they believe they had dreams or visions. They think that's all it was about that. They thought there wasn't nothing God done said to them and trying to get them to understand and see they don't believe in that. And it's sad that there's no hope for a lot of people because they don't even know the voice of God. But that's something to where at this point of what's going on in this world, we can't be concerned about that now, y'all. We in the thick of things. And we gotta be in close communication with the word of God and taking action and direction from it. Why do I read the Bible? I read the Bible because it's so much wickedness in the world to where reading the Bible, praying, and trying my best to live righteously is something that I gotta keep it as like, I gotta keep it like something that I gotta keep it in these days of time. I gotta have discipline with that. It used to be a day and time I didn't have to worry about that stuff. And just something happened, and then the world was so calm and peaceful to where it was something like, well, oops, I made a mistake. Let me try to go fix that. Everybody in the community looking at now. Why'd you do? Everybody focus now. Now, come on now. Everybody, the community pull together, help you get on track. There's so much gentrification and racism today to where you're constantly being triggered. You're constantly being targeted. And you can't overreact and you can't lash out in ways because you got to still take the advice and guidance from God and have discipline with it, because it's a constant attack on you, not in the spiritual but physically. They're trying to get you removed out of your communities. Racism and gentrification is so bad to where if you're not somebody that stays covered by the blessing of God, then maybe you participate in the black on black sellout community helping racism and gentrification. But let's say you doing your best to live by God. You gonna have to really have a lot of discipline these days. These folks are all inside of your, it used to be they be on the other side of town and they didn't care too much to be over there where you was at. But now they want your house and the neighborhood you live in. They ain't the churches your grandma and them used to go to. They kids in the schools, your people and your folk came up and custom going to them schools. And you gonna have to have discipline to where it comes to serving God, because you're in a constant attack. Now they're all in your environment now. They used to be other sides of towns in different cities for them to do their thing. Now they in your neighborhood next door to you, walking in front of your house. Following you around in your car. That's why we read the Bible so much these days, because the escalation of wickedness has picked up. That's why I emphasize why it's important to read the Bible so much, and I do it with my, whatever you want to call my wild podcast, my just crazy type of rants and whatever weird book reading and mythology, whatever you want to call it. Why do I emphasize reading the Bible and going to church? Because wickedness has picked up its attack. So I'm telling people, hey, you need to pick up your worship of God with reading the Bible. This Fatherland videos, y'all stay prayed up, man. If you don't find the church, if the wickedness is thick inside your church, and it's hard for you to find a church you comfortable in, still try to read the Bible. Some folks like to do it in the Bible, say to do it on the Sabbath on Saturday. Some folks do it on Sunday. Ain't no telling what's going on, y'all. You just find some time set aside to worship God. And you do your best. Because they doing their best right now with this wickedness and evil. This racism and gentrification. They doing their best right now. And you got to do your best to serve God right now. That's why we read the Bible. This Fatherland videos.